All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, Chief Instructor here at Moorpark Karate and Krav Maga, joined by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Kowalczik, out in Littleton,
What's
Colorado,
up, guys?
representing Revolution Martial Arts. We missed last week, so apologize, guys, that we didn't get. As you can probably imagine, we're both super busy with a lot going on, but we wanted to jump on today, and we're actually streaming in our Facebook group for all of our students to watch and on our Facebook page. But the topic for today that we want to talk about is we want to talk about practice like you want to perform. And we have 5 tips that we want to talk about, parents, to help you, to help your children to be successful, and talk about what our expectations are when it comes to practice. So, number one, we're going to talk about scheduling a time to practice. Number two, putting a time limit to the amount of time that you practice. Number three, being specific about what you want them to practice. Number four, some kind of tracking system to show their progress. And number five, a reward system, something that we can do to keep them motivated to practice even more. Because, listen, we both have kids, right, Mr. K? And like getting our kids to practice, everybody thinks, oh, well, you guys are
Yes,
martial arts school owners and getting your kids to practice all the time is like the easiest thing in the world. We're just like every
yeah,
other dad and every other parent, right?
absolutely. Yeah, they think because we are martial arts instructors, and I think it's actually harder to get our kids to practice because they're always around it, right? It's kind of like a kid that plays a video game. If he plays it every day, all the time, he gets bored of it really, really quickly and easily. But like if he plays it just for 30 minutes twice a week, and that's how a lot of students train, right? Then they don't get as bored of it easy. So I think it's a little bit harder actually for us being parents having kids in the martial arts. But yeah,
Well, let's talk about this first thing. Let's talk about scheduling a time to practice. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, absolutely. I think scheduling a time to practice and a time to train is key. Kids thrive in schedules. They thrive when they have regularity, right? So what I tell parents is it's good to have 2 days a week that you know are like your set training days. Like we're gonna go to karate Monday and Wednesday, say for example. Some people are Monday, Wednesday, some are Tuesday, Thursday. Maybe on those off days in between, just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most, and just practice a little bit of whatever you learned the day before, right? But I think having a set routine and scheduling that set routine is really important for kids because it helps them to be more successful. Do you notice
Well,
that with your students?
I can tell you firsthand with experience with my son, and you and I talked about this a little bit. With it just leaves that unknown, or that like pulling them away from the video games or pulling them away from their friends. If they know that 3 o'clock is the time we practice, or 3 o'clock is the
Yeah,
time that we're going to class, they can count on that, and we know that it's set. So I always like to tell my kids the night before what their schedule is for the next day, so we can just kind of mentally prepare for that. And again, it prevents that I don't want to go today, or you don't pull me away from the video games. We know what the time is. And then giving kind of a countdown. I even do this before classes start. Guys, 5 minutes till class starts, 4 minutes, because it starts putting them in that mode
get
right
the
away. So
mindset. Yeah,
I think that's important. Number two is the time limit. I think that parents have a different version sometimes of how much practice time is important. Parents ask me, how long should he be
yeah.
practicing? I think honestly, 1 minute per year of age, just like their attention span,
That's
is
exactly
pretty
what I was
good,
going to say. Yeah, that's
right?
exactly what I was going to say. If they're 5 years old, 5 minutes is perfect. If they're six, maybe 6 minutes is really good. Yeah, I agree with that exactly. I try to tell the parents the same thing at our karate school. I think because we think that practice is like 45 minutes when they come and train at the school, or a half hour, that they have to practice for a half hour. They have to practice for
Hmm.
45 minutes. That's too much. That's too much. That's too much to expect for a little kid to do, you know. And it's good for students and parents to understand too with all sports, right? There's a difference between training and practice. There's a big difference, right? Training is what you do when you're with your coaches. You come in, you learn, you work on certain skills and drills. Practice is the part where you have to have the self-discipline to go do it on your own, right? And for kids, yeah, 5 minutes I think is perfect. You know, setting a time, being consistent with that time. Putting the time limit on it, I think that's really important too. so the kids understand what the expectation is, but being specific. Do you want to talk a little bit more about being specific?
Yeah, and just to add to the time limit before we go on that is, when I have a time limit, you could literally set a 5-minute timer and boom, like let's get real,
Easy.
let's get serious, let's do 5 minutes. And if we start small, we can always build bigger, right? So if we start with 5 minutes, then we go to 6 or 7, then we go to 10. I mean, obviously, a white belt versus a black belt, the discipline is different, the expectation is a little bit
Yeah.
different, the requirements are different. So let's be real and let's start just like with classes. Let's start with 2 classes a week and then let's build to 3. But if you do it too much, too soon, too fast, then it's burnout, and that's what
Burnout.
makes them not want to practice. But as far as being specific, I think it's important that we talk about what are we going to work on today? Are we going to work on our basics? Are we going to work on our forms? Are we going to work on weapons? I think it's important too to let them choose what they want to work on sometimes instead of telling them what they have to work on. I mean, at the end of the day, our classes have class plans. Could you ever imagine having an instructor go out to teach a class that didn't have a
Yeah,
class plan?
no.
It's just
The
by the seat of their
chaos.
pants. We
The
have to
chaos.
have a written plan of what we're going to do in class. And so we do that with our practice at home too. Okay, today we're going to practice 5 minutes of just basics. Tomorrow we're going to practice 5 minutes of combinations. The next day 5 minutes of the form. And now in 3 days I've actually practiced 15 minutes, pretty intense. So that's going to be a huge benefit.
Yeah, I like what you said too about giving them the choice, because the psychology behind it, right, is hey, look, we're gonna practice today. You get to choose. Do you want to practice your forms or your weapons? So now they kind of feel like they have a little choice in the matter. It makes them more motivated to want to do it instead of just forcing them to do it, or feeling like as a parent you're forcing them to do it. Giving them the choice of what do you want to practice? You can do this or this, and that comes from that parenting book, Love and Logic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super good. Our fourth tip was a tracking system. What do you recommend for a tracking system?
Well, so as a parent, most of us have chores for our kids, and so they each have their specific chores. And when they were younger, my kids are older teenagers now, and it's a little bit different. But as they're younger, having that little check off, that little check mark, having a
Yeah.
list of, I practice this many days or I practice this many days in a row. I'm the kind of person, me, right? I love lists. I love checking things off the list
Right.
because
Yeah.
it makes me feel accomplished because I can go back and like I said, I see that we practiced 5 days in a row. Okay. I see that, oh, maybe I missed that day. Maybe I'm going to work a little harder the next day to make up for that. So I think anything on the refrigerator, I still believe that like putting something on the refrigerator and something that's visible for them to see it because they start getting excited about it. The teachers do this in school with their homework. They're doing it, they track their
Yeah.
scores.
You get a
Now
gold star or whatever, right? Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that tracking it is important because it shows us our progress. And that leads into the next thing, which is a reward system. Now, call it what you will, right? But every now and again, a little, let's just call it a bribe if we have to, right? But I mean, like you go to class 10 times in a row, you're going to get ice cream. You're going to 10 classes in a row, you're getting extra video game time, right?
Yeah.
Call it what you will, but I think that a reward system is important because we have a built-in reward system in our school with stripes on their belts, earning belts towards their black belt and beyond,
Absolutely.
right? So that tracking system will tie directly into creating a good reward system. And of course, after time and as they get more mature, they understand that the true reward is they know how to do a really good form. They have a really high side kick. They're getting a little bit faster with the bow, right?
Absolutely.
That's the
Yeah.
reward. But in the beginning, it's sometimes those extra things that get them over the hump.
Yeah. And
What are some ways that you reward your students?
yeah, I mean, in classes, we reward them with all kinds of cool stuff. We'll do like a free T-shirt for whoever's working the hardest that day. Summertime's here, so we link up with one of the local like ice cream shops, frozen yogurt place. I know you got an amazing one. Here's a good idea for you guys over there with coaches. We get little gift cards, little $5 gift cards, right? We'll go buy $300-400 of gift cards at a time, and we'll give them out during the week to the top performers, the kids that are working the hardest, or the kids that are practicing at home, right? The kids that are showing that improvement in class. So I think having little rewards, and we even as adults like having little rewards, right? Like if I go to the gym for so many days in a row, I look forward to hitting that massage at the end. I like look forward to like whatever it is, right? We like giving ourselves little rewards along the way too. It's no different with kids. We have to remember that, and especially with kids, giving them something that's going to keep them excited and motivated to do the right thing. At the end of the day, getting them to practice is really important because it's instilling discipline in them, right? Take karate aside, take martial arts aside, just regular life. It's teaching them to have discipline. That's our skill this month is discipline in our karate school. And discipline says to do the right thing. In this case, it's practice to do the right thing, regardless of how you feel, right? A lot of times we want to react on how we feel and how you feel. Well, that's called motivation, and motivation comes and goes, but to have discipline, right? That's a very rare skill, especially amongst kids. If they can instill discipline, hey, I'm going to practice for 5 minutes on these 2 set scheduled days. I'm going to put a time limit on it. I'm going to be specific. I'm going to work on this specific thing. I'm going to track my progress. And at the end, there's a reward system for having that discipline. That is going to keep them, I think, motivated and training longer and more focused and better martial artists. But then that skill goes into school and work and every other area of their life as they become adults.
100%. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we talked about this a little bit today because, we say this in class, practice like you want to perform. If you want to
Yes.
have a great performance, whether it's a belt test, a stripe test, a tournament, a demonstration, right? You got to practice like you want to perform. And, just some of the things that we need to remember when we're practicing is practice with intensity, practice with power, practice with energy, because if
Yeah.
you're doing a walk through, right, that might be good for memory, but that's not going to help you to make your performance to that next level,
And
right?
actually, what you're doing is you're practicing bad habits. So what you're actually doing is when you're practicing lazy, you're instilling lazy muscle memory. You're teaching yourself it's okay to be lazy and to move lazy. And then all of a sudden, when you're in a real life situation and that fight or flight kicks in, you don't have that quick twitch. You don't have that explosiveness. You don't have that power, right? One thing I always tell our students, one of my favorite quotes is practice like it's real. So when it's real, it's like you practiced. I think that's a good one for people to
Hmm.
understand. Practice like it's real. So when it's real, it's like you practice. Hopefully, you never have to use your martial arts. I have several times, right? But hey, man, it's like you want to know it in like the back of your hand. You got it down
Hmm.
so good because you drilled it so many times. Didn't Bruce Lee have a famous quote that was something like "Fear not the man that's practiced 10,000 kicks, but the man that's done one kick 10,000 times," or something like
That's
that?
it. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
it.
Off the
Well,
top
that's
of the
good
dome.
stuff. That's good stuff. Well, parents, listen, we would love to hear your thoughts on this, and we'd love to know other topics that you want to hear us talk about. But when
Absolutely.
we're talking about practice like you want to perform, let's talk about performance martial arts or extreme karate, Raptor Extreme Karate. Talk about this new program that we have in our schools.
Oh man, I'm loving it right now. Our students are loving it. It's keeping them super motivated because they're learning things that are fun and engaging with the class. Even adult students I've recognized really like the challenge from the curriculum. They really like the program. And most people think extreme martial arts like I have to do a backflip and I have to have all this stuff. Not really. It's just taking your basic traditional techniques to a higher level, to a performance level, teaching them how to be explosive and fast, have energy, and not just do a form, but perform the form. So it's super awesome, man. I'm really excited. We got 2.0s about to launch, which I got some top secret stuff I can't really talk about quite yet on that. But I know you're going to be out there at the Super Show with me.
That's right.
So
That's right.
any martial artists that are watching or tuning in, and you guys come by the booth 127. We're going to be hanging out. Master Flame and I will be at the Martial Arts Super Show coming up here in Vegas. And we would love to talk to you guys about just martial arts and answer any questions you have, help you be more successful in your business and thrive.
And also for all of our students that are watching, you can download the Raptor Extreme app and you can have access
Yep.
to all of the content as a student, as a competitor, to work on the extreme forms. And we're teaching these in our weapons class on Friday and Saturday. And well, let me show you guys a little video of what it's all about if you haven't seen it. And we'll be back next Thursday. So please let us know your thoughts on today's topic and let us know what you want us to talk about next week. So here it is. Raptor Extreme Karate.